Hello, friends. Today I wanted to discuss the reasons why sometimes calorie counting is really not appropriate. And if I may, I am going to look at my notes because I did write some thoughts down. So, in order for me to keep it a little bit more consistent. But before I begin, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jessica, and I engage in conversations about weight loss, weight related disease education, and how to engage in weight loss in an affordable way that honors your values and your beliefs, because it's very important for all of us to be able to engage in weight loss or weight maintenance with the tools we have, because most of us cannot afford the fancy gym and the fancy dietitian. We do have to do what we can with what we have. Having said that, all these videos are free. All I'm asking is for you to just subscribe if you like my content. If you don't, I understand. But anyway, let's move on. Why sometimes is calorie counting not appropriate? Well, the one of the things that I did find was that if you're really struggling with consistency, and if you're feeling that it's just really way too little, or it just becomes very triggering in terms of you have a plate and you're just feeling like you cannot go beyond those calories, and you're still hungry and just struggling mentally, that's definitely then one of the reasons why it wouldn't be appropriate. Following that, my suggestion would be at that point in time to just observe portion control and try to your best to do more of a how much am I eating really, and based on how much you're eating, just decrease about 150 calories. That could mean that you are, instead of having 2 cookies, you're only having 1 cookie, because the chocolate chip cookies run you about 150 calories. So that's number 1. If you are completely obsessing with calorie counting, if that's what's happening during your day, where you're like, trying to put everything in your app or writing everything down, that is a problem. There was a time where I was actually even counting every single thing, every single sauce. And sometimes I would, turn to the people I love, especially my kids, and I'm like, does that have, was that fried, or how much is that sauce? And maybe I don't want to have sauce. I think that when we're overly focused into it, it's time to take a step back, because not everything, the actual error that all the labels are allowed is quite hefty. I believe it's up, it runs you up to your 25%. So that could be significant. I think when we are doing calorie counter, then the counting, there needs to be a range, right? From 1800 to 2000. One day you might be in 1800, another 2000. So I think it's finding that type of balance, because if you're actually scrutinizing everything, then that can become problematic. I actually have an example. There was a point where I was even when the second that I asked myself, do my vitamins have calories, or whether my the Tylenol had calories, that was a moment that I really need to reevaluate how obsessed I was with calorie counting, because at the end of the day, you need to take your medication, you need to take your vitamins, and it shouldn't be in the equation. If you are obsessing over those things, I think there's just needs to be a step back. Now, the last thing I do want to make sure is that you are aware in that can be a trigger is that if you are calorie counting and it becomes an issue where it's now it behaves like an ED, then that's a reason why not to do that. What do I mean by that? And I'm going to personalize this. So when obviously I have a certain ED, so I can have periods where I eat large amounts of food. Actually, I don't have it anymore, but it took me about 5 years to build that relationship where I would calorie count. Then when it became something that was triggering, I would stop, and then I would begin again. There would be dips and valleys where I would be at, my weight would be low, and then there would be periods where it would just come up a little bit. Never to the point where it would be like it was before, right? 270 pounds, never like that, but it would be, I would gain 15. I'm actually right now 15 pounds heavier than I was last year. So when it becomes an issue where you're cutting your calories and then you don't see results, and then you start cutting even more, and you start obsessing where you're cutting to the point where now you're really under the 1200 calorie or 1400 calorie. That's when you really do need to reanalyze, because now you're buying one ED to another ED. Does that make sense? You're going from doing one behavior to adopting another behavior, because at the end of the day, it's not about the food. It's about the control that so it's like the same coin, different faces. So that's when you really need to analyze whether calorie counting is for you. By all terms and purposes, calorie counting should not be something that I stick to for the rest of my life. At some point, I do have to mirror some of the instinct and the fact that I need to understand how much I'm eating and portion control and actually listening to my body and things like that. Now, the last thing I do want to say is this. I heard once from a dietitian it was a doctor, who said there might be a point where none of us are able to actually be in the sphere where we can listen to our bodies and be able to eat and maintain our weight, because now as a society we're not very good at doing that because of all these foods that the high caloric foods that we are exposed to. I would like to think that that's not the case. I would like to think that at some point we are going to master that hunger, eating, and balancing those two. I think it does take a lot of listening to our bodies, but at the end of the day, calorie counting shouldn't be to where it is an added job. Neither should it be triggering. So when that occurs, it is no longer useful. And as such, at that point, you just need to not engage in it and just go back to the drawing board and maybe just look at what you're eating, and instead of having what you would usually do, just do 3/4 of it, and then after that, see how that works, and if that works, then maybe half it and go by that. Make sense? I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you Friday. Have a good one.